Happy New Year from NP₃. Hi there, welcome to the National Parks Photography Program. This is Dan. I'm here just to do a quick Happy New Year episode. It's been a little while, so I'm going to go over some of my highlights from 2017, what I'm looking forward to in 2018, and yeah, that's going to be the show today. So thinking back to 2017 was quite a year for me. On a personal note, the big issue was in November, my wife and I had our first baby. So obviously that's awesome, but it also has changed our lives completely. So I'll touch on that a little bit as it relates to the photography. But I mean, first and foremost, that's the biggest thing. Being a first-time father is about as big as it gets. More focused on the photography. A lot of awesome things happened in the last year. I had the chance, well, every year we go to Arizona in the winter and stay with my parents. I didn't do a ton of photography down there this year. It is an annual trip, so not that you can't, there's enough down there for a lifetime, but we did hike up to the top of Backat Peak, which was really cool. But yeah, had a great time there. In April, my wife and I were able to take an awesome trip to Europe. So we went to Milan and then rented a car and drove up to Geneva, through Grenoble and the Alps a little bit down to Monaco, and then from there into the Italian Riviera to Cinque Terre, and then up to a bed and breakfast just outside of Milan before we headed back. So that was a fantastic time. Especially in the first half of the trip, I got some cool photographs. I travel with my XE1, or I did travel with my XE1, which is just an amazing little travel camera. And so I like using that, and on those trips, photography isn't the number one focus, although I do take some time to try to make some nice images. Once we got to the Cinque Terre, I messed up and left my camera bag at a restaurant for a little bit, and by the time I got back to the restaurant, someone had stolen it. So there went my XE1, my 18 to 55, and my 10 to 24 lenses all in one shot, and my camera bag. So I had to replace some of that stuff when we got an XE2. So that was a bummer, and it cost me the chance. Fortunately, I'd been backing up my photos all along, but it cost me the chance to do, especially in Cinque Terre. It's a beautiful place, and I would have loved to have done some photography there. And I did some with my phone, but it's an old phone, and it really isn't up to the task. So that was a bummer. But other than that, the trip was amazing. We love Geneva. Really want to go back there. So yeah, great time. In June, for my work at UW Green Bay, I was able to attend a conference in Boston on business video, Wistia Fest. And so I, just learning more about video for business. And that was a great time. I did have a chance in a couple of evenings in the first night there to get out and do some photography. So I got to Adams National Historic Park, I think it is, to see Peacefield, which is the home of John Adams and John Quincy Adams, and 4 generations of Adamses. That was really neat. And just Boston's a really great city. Up until this point, Chicago is my favorite American city, and I think Boston is kind of tied it now. They're very different, visiting Chicago and visiting Boston. I'm much more familiar with Chicago because it's only 3.5 hours from here. But really loved Boston and really had a good time checking out the historic sites, and Boston National Historic Site, and Boston African American Heritage. I don't know if it's a historic site but anyway, so yeah, really, really fun time in Boston. And then the big photographic highlight of the year was going out to Grand Teton for the solar eclipse. So I drove out And there's a couple videos I did live streamed along the trip to the degree those turned out. But yeah, drove out through North Dakota, stopped at Theodore Roosevelt National Park, had some time in Yellowstone, had the big day for the eclipse in Grand Teton, and then came back through South Dakota and stopped at the Badlands and did some photography there. So that was an amazing trip, and seeing the eclipse is hopefully not a once in a lifetime thing. I'd like to see, we're planning to go see it in 2024 when it crosses from Texas up through kind of along the St. Lawrence Seaway. But certainly seeing an eclipse in Grand Teton, in Cascade Canyon, I was by myself. It was so intense and beautiful, and pretty happy with the image I made. I mean, it's just you don't see a ton of landscape images with the eclipse, and to do it right at Grand Teton, you kind of had to get up into the canyons, into the peaks, so that you'd have a foreground. And yeah, I'm pleased with the images I made of that. So, and then like I said, late fall we had birth of my daughter, and here we are. Happy New Year. So that's a pretty spectacular 2017. Looking ahead to 2018, obviously being a dad now, it's not like I can just haul off and travel maybe the way I've been in the past, which is worth it, but it's different. We are going to Arizona again coming up this winter, but whether I have any chances to do photography or not, I'll probably bring a camera. I don't know that I'll use it. And then, I like, if it works out in the fall, to do a fall photo trip. And that could mean a lot of things. That could be a week. That could be, a long weekend, or who knows. I mean, it might not even work out. That's not the number one priority in life now. But in my role at the university, I've been getting really excited about doing more studio stuff and some of that, and it does provide a lot of opportunities. So it's not like if I'm not making a national parks trip, I'm not continuing to develop my skills. I'm doing this every day, but those special opportunities to get out and do the national parks photography or the travel photography, at least for a year or two, for a long time it's going to change, but it might get, especially in the first couple of years, it might be difficult. So we'll kind of play that by ear as it goes along. That doesn't stop me from having goals with my national parks and travel photography. I just relaunched my new website at nationalparksartist.com and refreshed that. I'm really happy with it. I had been using WordPress, and I switched over to Wix, and I'm pretty pleased with their product. So that's been an upgrade. And I still have more things to add to it, and there's a store tool which I have to figure out how to make it quite work the way I want it to, but that'll give me the ability to do online sales. So that's just been launched, and it's exciting, and will continue to develop. My art show booth, I'm going to kind of rebuild my display for my art show booth, so that I can kind of take that up a notch. What I've been using has worked fine, but it's not like the most high-end look. And so I'm going to try to kind of custom build the walls and the displays to sort of raise my game with my show booth. I think that will really be helpful and useful. And just, you want to show off your work in the best way possible. And I also am kind of turning over my my art for the shows. I'm really going towards metal prints. Canvas and paper prints are great, and they look great on the wall. And I'm not even sure that metal prints are inherently better, but especially for the outdoor show environment, not having to worry about any glass like you would with a paper print is a huge plus. The stuff just shows better. And even the canvas, I think the metal is a little more durable than canvas is. and especially you can get the satin finish. So with things like my photos from Sequoia or things that kind of have that more atmospheric look, the satin finish is really nice. And then the gloss finish for anything with water, things like that. It just shows really well, and it looks great, you know, in your house on a wall too. It's a good product, and I think it's something that's been around for a little while now. I don't think it's a fad, because I think it really is. I think it really does look great. So I'm trying to kind of switch my stock over to those. In terms of this channel, I think it's going to be a little more vloggy like this video is. Instead of doing the reviews, I might do some national parks reviews, but just in terms of time constraints, it's easier to just do this and have simple edits, kind of shooting as live like I am right now. And then, you know, I'll try to keep it updated at least a few times over the course of the next year with what's going on. And like I said, if I have chances, you know, maybe a park review or two. I did record when I went out to Grand Teton. I had rented an XT2 and a couple of lenses for the Fuji X system, and so I did record some content to review that stuff. The short version is the XT2 is really cool. It's not so cool that I'm still using my XT1. I'm not rushing out to buy a new camera, but that is kind of in my... I see that on the horizon. That will be a nice upgrade. And the lenses were cool, especially the 100 to 400 was not something I would use every day, but for going out there and shooting wildlife was spectacular. So anyways, yeah, I mean, looking ahead, like I said, it's going to be really focused on developing sort of the business stuff, the display, the stock I have for art, trying to do some more freelance work outside of travel. And well, I mean, it could be with travel and nature photography. It could be outside of that in terms of the skills I've developed doing photography and videography. And then, yeah, I mean, just trying to continue my improving my work at the university. I think it's been at a very high standard. But you know, I'm my own worst critic, so I can always see places where, you know, I can get better and do more and improve as a photographer and videographer. So that's what I'm looking forward to. In 2018 should be an exciting year. Hopefully, you know, differently exciting than 2017, but right up there as well. So, you know, I hope you've had a great 2017, and I hope you do have a great 2018. Look for me here. Look for me at National Parks Artist on Facebook. And then also one of my goals for the year is to post on Instagram every day or most every day. So I'm National Parks Artist on Instagram as well. So Instagram might be the best place to follow. I've got all these you know, photos archived, and I'm going to start putting those up on Instagram and creating a nice collection there so you can see the work that I've done and that I'm continuing to do. So with that said, have a great year, and thanks for watching.